this is the video for your systems of equations test. If at any point in the video you need to pause and so you can get caught up, you can. Alright? So problem 1 says to solve each system by graphing. Remember, your answer is going to be where your lines cross. The ordered pair where the lines cross. So the first thing you have to do is graph. In order to graph these, you have to put the equations in y equals mx plus b. So your first problem, number 1, both of my equations are in y equals mx plus b. Remember, b is your y-intercept. So I'm going to put a point at -3. M is your slope. So that means my slope is -1/2. So that means from my point, I'm going to go down 1, right 2. Down 1, right 2. And then because I still have room, I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go up 1, left 2. Up 1, left 2. And connect my points. For my second line, I'm going to start at +4. So I'm going to put a point at +4. And I'm going to go up 5, right 4. Well, I have no room to go up 5, so I have to go the other way. So I have to go down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Left 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I don't have any more room, so I'm just going to connect my points. Now, the answer to this question is this ordered pair. That is your answer. So it's going to be -4, comma, -1. This is your answer. Let's look at problem 2. First thing I have to do is make sure my equations are in y equals mx plus b. Well, this time they're not. So I'm going to rewrite my first equation, x plus 3y equals -6, and solve for y. I'm getting y by itself. So I'm going to subtract both sides by x, and because these are not like terms, this is not a like term, it has to stay separate. So I'm going to get 3y equals -x minus 6. Divide both sides by 3, and you get y equals -1/3 x minus 2. Now graph. So I'm going to go down to -2, and from here I'm going to go down 1, right 3. Down 1, can't go anymore, so I go the opposite way. I'm going to go up 1, left 3. Up 1, can't go anymore, connect them. So let's look at my second equation. I have 2x plus y equals 3. Subtract 2x from both sides, and I get y equals -2x plus 3. Here again, these are not like terms, so you cannot combine them. They both do not have an x. So this time I'm going to go up 3, and my step says I need to go down 2, right 1. Down 2, right 1. Down 2, right 1, and so forth, and then connect. So my answer is this ordered pair, which is 3, -3. So that is how you solve systems of equations by graphing. So solve the system of equation by substitution. Anytime you are doing substitution, you are going to substitute one equation in for the other, or you're going to replace. Another word for substitution is replace. Just like the other day when I was absent on Thursday, I had a substitute. She took my place in the classroom. Okay? In order to solve a system by substitution, you have to have a variable by itself. Well, in this case, I have y equals negative 1. Anywhere I see a y, I am going to plug in negative 1 because y equals that. So I'm going to have 7x plus 3 times negative 1 equals 4. So negative 1 replaced y. Solve for x. 7x minus 3, because it's 3 times negative 1, so I'll multiply those two numbers together, equals 4. The inverse of subtraction is addition, so I'm going to add it to both sides. So I have 7x equals 7. Inverse of multiplication is division, so I get x equals 1. I am not done. Remember, my answer is still an ordered pair. It is still an ordered pair. So I have to find what my other value is. So I'm going to plug it back in. 7 times 1 plus 3y equals 4. 7 plus 3y equals 4. So I'll multiply these two numbers together. Subtract 7. 3y equals negative 3. Divide by 3. And you get y equals negative 1. Well, looky there. That looks just like my other equation. So anytime you have a variable that is just a number, that's going to be your answer. So my answer is 1 comma negative 1. Solve by elimination. First thing you have to make sure that you have for systems of eliminations is make sure everything is aligned. So line everything up. Well, in this problem, everything's lined up. I'm good to go. My second step is to make sure I have numbers, same numbers, in front of same variable. So if I'm looking at my x's, then both x's in my equations have to be the same. So if I'm looking at number 4, they are. So now I just have to combine my equations. Remember, same, sign, subtract. Opposite, sign, and I just spelled sing instead of sign, add. So because I'm looking at my x's, this is just what I see first. They have opposite signs, so I'm going to add them together. Negative 4x plus 4x is 0x. Don't have to write it, so I can just go away. Negative 7 plus 7y is 0y equals 21 plus negative 11 is 10. And you get 0 equals 10. 0 cannot equal 10, so your answer is no solution. So remember, if I have a number that equals a different number, that's a little jacked up too, your answer is no solution. If I have a number that equals the same number, your answer is infinite solution. So those are options. So the next 4 says choose any method. So number 5, everything is lined up. So I'm going to use the substitution method. Okay? So here, one thing I do know is that my numbers, I don't have any variable that has the same number. So I have to multiply something. I'm going to multiply the bottom by 2 because 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. So that gives me same numbers. Plus 2y equals 10. So I no longer need this equation. I would not scribble through that because you might need it later, and it's easy for me to move my scribble. So now I'm going to add my equations together. 6 plus negative 6 gives me 0x. Negative 2 plus 2 gives me 0y. 4 plus 10 equals 14. And I get 0 equals 14. So here again, my answer is no solution. Number 6. Here again, I don't have, my variables are lined up, but I don't have the same number. But that's an easy fix. So I'm just going to multiply my bottom equation by 5 so that it gets same numbers. So I do 5x minus 30y equals 50. Opposite signs I'm going to add. Negative 5 plus 5 is 0x. Don't have to write it. Negative 7 plus negative 30 equals negative 37y equals 37. Divide both sides by negative 37, and you get y equals negative 1. Remember, my answer is in the form of an ordered pair, so I have to plug negative 1 back in. I want to choose the bottom, so I have x minus 6 times negative 1 equals 10. X plus 6 equals 10. Subtract 6 from both sides. X equals 4. So my final answer is 4 comma negative 1. Number 7. Now this one, because I have a variable that is set up equal to something already, I have a variable by itself, I'm going to use substitution method because this is easy. Now remember what I said, because you have a variable that's equal to a constant number, you can already tell what that number is going to be. So y equals 2. I mean, nothing changes. So you're going to have negative 2x minus 8 times 2 equals negative 14. So I have negative 2x minus 16 equals negative 14. Add 16 to both sides. Negative 2x equals 2. Divide both sides by negative 2, and you get x is equal to negative 1. So there's my answer. Number 8. Here again, I still have a variable that is set equal to one number. So I already know what half my answer is. Y is equal to 1. So just plug 1 in. 3x plus 5 times 1 equals 11. 3x plus 5 equals 11. Subtract 5 from both sides, and you get 3x equals 6. Divide both sides by 3. X equals 2. So your answer is 2 comma 1. Number 9. Stefan and Arjun each improved their yard by planting hostas and shrubs. So this is an equation application problem. So here again, I still have to define what my variables are going to be. So we're talking about hostas, however you pronounce that, and that's an O. Hostas. I can't spell. Hostas and shrubs. They bought their supplies from the same store, and Stefan spent $142 on 12 hostas, so 12x, plus 1y. So he spent a total of $142. Arjun spent $86 on 6 hostess and 2 shrubs. Find the cost of 1 hosta and the cost of 1 shrub. Okay, so to me, I'm going to multiply my bottom equation by 2 so that I get my 2 and 6 equal. So 2 times 6 is 12x plus 4y equals 172. So I no longer need this equation. I'm going to now subtract my equations together because my signs are the same. Same sign, subtract. 12 minus 12 is 0. 1 minus 4 is negative 3y equals negative 30. Divide both sides by 3. Negative 3, and you get y is equal to 10. So 1 shrub is $10. To find out how much a hostess is, you plug in 10 for y. So 12x plus 1 times 10 equals 142. 12x plus 10 equals 142. Subtract 10 to both sides. 12x equals 132. Divide by 12. X equals 111. So a hostess costs $11. Okay. So from here, we want to move on to the next page. Adam and Sarah Wong each improved their yards by planting hostess and ivy. They bought their supplies from the same store. Adam spent $48 on a hostess and 2 pots of ivy. And Sarah Wong spent $138 on 4 hostess and 8 pots of ivy. Was the cost of 1 hosta and the cost of 1 pot of ivy. So here again, I'm going to have my x and y's. So I'm going to do hostess as x, ivy as y. And I need to know how much 1 hostess costs and how much 1 ivy costs. So I'm going to set up an equation. So $48 was how much he totally spent. And he bought 8 hostess and 2 ivies. Sarah Wong spent $138 on 14 hostess and 8 ivies. Now, if you try to multiply 8 to get 14, you can't do that. So you would multiply both equations. But if I look at my y's instead now, you could just multiply the top equation by 4 to get 8. So I look at both my variables and try to figure out which one would be easiest. Well, this time it's going to be the top. I'm going to erase this line. And I'm just going to rewrite my top equation here. So 4 times 8 is 32x plus 8y, and that equals 4, 16, 17, 18, 19. I believe it's 139. Let me double check. $48 times 4 is 192. I messed up. That should be a 2. See? Never hurts to double check your answers. Now, I changed that equation, so I no longer need it. Now I have to combine these 2 equations. And I'm going to combine them by subtracting them. Same sign, subtract. 14 minus 32 gives me negative 18x plus 0y, so I don't need to put it. 138 minus 192 gives me negative 54. So from here, you're going to divide both sides by negative 18, and you get x equals 3. So the cost of one hostess here is $3. Plug it back in, and I'm going to use the top equation again because it looks like it's going to be the easiest. So 8 times 3 plus 2y equals 48. 8 times 3 is 24. So 24 plus 2y equals 48. Subtract 24 from both sides, and you get 2y equals 24. Divide both sides by 2. Y equals 12. So the cost of one hostess is $3, and the cost of one ivy is 12. So that is your answer for problem 10. Alright, these next set of problems are review questions from other units, and so we're going to do a couple of these problems. So problem 11 is set up as a proportion, which means I have two fractions set equal to each other. So here, what you're going to do is cross multiply. So you're going to do 6 times b minus 4 equals 12 times b minus 11. Distribute into the parentheses, so I'm distributing the 6 and the 12. So I have 6b minus 24 equals 12b minus 132. I'm going to add 132 to both sides. And then I'm going to subtract 6b to both sides. You see how I'm doing this all in one step? That is okay. I do not care if you do everything in one step. So I'm getting my constants on one side. So I have 1, because those cancel out and those cancel out. I have 108 and 6b over here. I do not care if you do it all in one step, as long as you show your work. Divide both sides by 6, and you get b equals 1. Let's see. 18. B equals 18. So that is how you do a proportion problem. Number 12 is a equation. Susie has at most $70 to spend on a new dress. Write an inequality for the amount the dress could cost. Okay? So she has money to buy for a dress. She at most can spend $70. Now here are the four. I need to figure out what inequality symbol goes in the middle. Okay? This is my blank. This isn't part of the answer, it's just a blank. So I could use this symbol, or these two symbols. Okay? She can spend at most $70. That means she can spend all the way up to 70, including 70. So that means I don't need those. Okay? So I have to figure out, do I need this symbol or this one? Well, 70 is the most she can spend. So that's the biggest the number will ever get. So because it's the biggest, our inequality symbol will eat the 70. Okay? So this is the answer. C is less than or equal to 70. Number 13. In order to graph this inequality, you have to get the x or v on the same side and solve it for itself. So if I have negative 5v plus 2 is less than 6 minus 3v, the first thing I'm going to do is add 5v to both sides. Remember, if you make your v positive or your variable positive, in the end you will not have to flip the sign. So I have 2 is greater than 6 plus 2v. Because remember, anytime you multiply or divide the opposite side by a negative number, you have to flip the inequality. So I'm going to subtract 6. Yes, 6 is negative, but it is not multiplying or dividing. It was just subtracting. Divide by 2, and you get negative 2 is greater than v. If you want to, you can rewrite it as v is less than negative 2. Either way you write it, I'm okay. So I'm going to put an open circle at negative 2, and because v is less than negative 2, it goes to the left. My interval notation is going to be negative infinity to negative 2 with the parenthesis. Number 14. A minus 4 is less than 10 minus 6a. I'm going to add 6a to both sides so that I get 7a. So I have 7a minus 4 is less than 10. Add 4 to both sides. 7a is less than 14. And divide by 7. And you have a is less than 2. So now I have an open circle at 2. And a is less than 2, so it's going to go to the left. And my interval notation is negative infinity 2. Number 15. For each of the graph, find f of negative 7. Remember, function notation is f of x equals. So because negative 1 replaced x, I have to find negative 1 on the x-axis, and it is right here. To find your answer, you trace the negative 1 up or down until your graph hits that line. Your answer is the y value. So f of negative 1 is 4. So let's look at number 16. Find f of negative 1. Negative 1 on the x-axis, go up till you hit the graph. Your y value is 2. So your answer is 2. And that is it for the study guide review. If you have any questions, please come back and see me. There will be tutoring after school today from 3:05 to 5 in the library. Good luck on your test, and like I said, if you have any questions, come see me.